Hi, Desai from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got no book on record to play for you. Today book is The Ugly Duckling from 1974. So let's get started.
It was springtime, and nestled away in a thick cover of weeds, close to the bank of the old river, a mother duck was sitting on her nest. At last, the eggs began to crack, and soon 5 little ducklings were running around, filling the air with their cries. Peep, peep, they said. What a big world this is.
Quack, quack, said their mother. It's a very big world, so you must stay right here. There is still one egg left that has not hatched. Soon an old duck came walking by. How is it going, my dear? She said. Well, replied the mother duck, there is still this large egg that hasn't been hatched. But look at the others. I think they're the most beautiful ducklings I've ever seen. Yes, they certainly are, said the old duck. But let me take a look at that big egg. It's probably a turkey egg. Yes, that's what it looks like. Don't waste your time, my dear, hatching that egg. I made that mistake once. I quacked and quacked until I was hoarse, but that foolish creature would not go near the water. Why don't you take the other ducklings down to the river and teach them to swim? Well, replied the mother duck, I think that I will sit here a little while longer. Suit yourself, said the old duck as she turned and waddled off. Finally, there was a crack, and the big egg opened. Cried the new arrival. The mother duck looked at him. I must say that you certainly are the biggest and ugliest duckling that I have ever seen. Even your color is different from the rest. You are brown, but you don't look like a turkey chick to me.
The next morning, the mother duck and her new family marched down to the river bank. Quack, quack, she said, and jumped into the water. One by one, they followed her, and soon they were all swimming in a straight line up and down the river.
The mother duck turned her head to look at them. The ugly brown one is certainly no turkey, she said. Look at the way he holds his head and how strong his little legs are. He's really quite handsome in his own way. As the days went by, the ducklings began to grow bigger and bigger. They had all been introduced to the other animals on the farm by their mother. At first, the ugly duckling was happy to walk over to the barnyard with his brothers and sisters. But soon he became very unhappy. The hens and roosters laughed at him. The cows would walk away as he came near. The turkeys gobbled at him. Even his brothers and sisters began to call him names.
Finally, one morning he could stand it no longer, and so he walked out of the barnyard, through the hedges, and down to the river bank. He began to swim. He passed the old willow tree where a family of robins had their nest. He let the current carry him by the big bend in the river. He had never been this far from home before. For the next few weeks, the ugly duckling stayed close to the river, swimming and drifting with the current. On his way, he was greeted with shouts of laughter from all the animals he met. One day, he even frightened a pair of mud turtles that were sunning themselves on a log. He felt very sad and quite ashamed of his ugliness. Finally, it was autumn. The leaves on the trees began to turn red and yellow and eventually fell to the ground. The duckling had to stop his wandering and make a warm nest to keep out the cold winds that began to blow. One evening, just at sunset, a flock of beautiful birds flew over. The duckling had never seen birds so lovely. They were a gleaming white with long, graceful necks. They were swans on their way to warmer lakes and ponds for the winter. The duckling did not know what they were, but he wished he could go with them, more than he wished for anything else in his life.
The winter arrived, and it was very cold. Then one day the sun began to feel warm again on his feathers. The ice melted, and the birds began to sing in the nearby trees. Spring had returned. He stood up and stretched his wings. They felt stronger than before, and he was soon flying high over the woods and meadows. He looked down and saw a lovely pond surrounded by a magnificent garden. He came down and rested on the surface of the pond. From the far side, 3 white swans swam out from the overhanging branches of a weeping willow tree. The duckling recognized the birds, and he was overcome by a strange sadness.
And then he saw his own reflection in that clear, sparkling water. He was no longer awkward, brown, and ugly. He was white and beautiful, just like the other swans. The swans swam around him, bowing their heads and stroking him with their beaks. At last, he lifted up his slender neck and looked around him at his new home. Some children had come to the edge of the pond and were throwing bread and corn into the water. As the other swans fell into line behind him, he swam toward the children and thought, I never dreamt that I should find so much happiness when I was the ugly duckling.
So, that was The Ugly Duckling for 1974. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. Our next book will be The Adventure of Pinocchio, Pinocchio in the Great Well,